Max woke up suddenly from darkness screaming Rachel, but she was waiting right there holding Max's hand but sleeping like a log. Wait, I'm still here, how can that be? She slowly pushed herself up and looked around the room and at a ceiling full of stars. My headache is gone. Well, for now, I have to ease up on my power usage, have to keep it ready. Max got up and slowly released Rachel's grip on her hand, letting the ice pack that was on her head fall to the ground. Wow, I guess she was taking care of me while I was out. Rachel looked calm sleeping, but Max could tell she had cried while she was sleeping, but she was going to do her best to never have Rachel cry again, as the pictures of Rachel were burned in her mind. Without thinking, she just hugged Rachel again. I will never let that happen. I'm sorry I wasn't around the first time. She felt a small squeeze on her hand and opened her eyes to see Rachel just looking at her. Am I really that important to you? Max just looked at her and nodded. More than you can imagine. So let's go to California then. Let's leave all this behind if it's hard to protect me here. Max thought about it and it made more sense than keeping her in Arcadia Bay. You're right, but what about Chloe? She needs to be there as well. Rachel looked away almost as if to not pay attention to the thought. Me and her need some distance from each other. But Max wasn't having any of it. You guys can solve your petty problems later. You're my most important cargo. Max had still been holding on to Rachel, but she wasn't paying it any mind. Saying such sweet words while holding me like that. Buy a girl a drink first, or at least tell me your name. Oh, sorry about that, Max said quickly, letting go of Rachel. It's okay, Rachel said, letting out a sweet laugh. And it's Max. Rachel had a quick flashback and a stunned look on her face. Are you the Max, the one Chloe could never stop talking about? Max bowed enthusiastically. The one and only. Rachel got up, heading to her wardrobe, pulling out a stuffed bag and backpack. Me and Frank have been talking about wanting to leave this place, just been waiting for the right time. You can't tell him? Rachel stopped searching her drawers. What do you mean? I have to go and get him along, she said, smiling, trying to downplay Max's words. Not joking, Rachel, especially him. I can't let him get close to you. Not after what he did. Rachel turned to look at Max, who was just staring out the window. What did he do? Rachel asked, worried. As long as it doesn't happen again, you don't need to know. You know what they say, the devil's in the details. I can't have her fulfilling her prophecy or something like that. Chloe made it out, and I will make sure she does too, no matter the cost. We're not going to California. At least not first, because I want to face this on my home turf. Somewhere I know, Max said, but her real reason was to get away from the Prescott-controlled Arcadia Bay. You're going with me to Seattle today, Max said in a tone that Rachel didn't want to question, even though she was still shell-shocked about the news of Frank. Just what did Frank do to me that she doesn't even want to think about it? Max readied her bag, checking her phone to see the dates. It's Thursday morning. Just on time, we have to get going now. Rachel picked up her bags and Max took her backpack, grabbing a hold of Rachel's hand, then started walking out the room. Rachel's parents had left to buy medicine for her friend that she brought home that fainted. So you kept me at your house. That's surprising. Rachel just shrugged. What else was I supposed to do? If I sent you to the hospital, I might have ended up losing you like my mom, she said with a hint of pain on her face. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you, she said, holding Rachel's hand a little tighter. I came a long way for you and I'm not going to let anything stop me. A while later they arrived at the front door of Chloe's house. Before they were even inside, they could hear shouting and screaming. I'm guessing that's David and Chloe. Rachel just cracked a smile. Seems like you're familiar with it, she said with a smile. A smile looks good on you, Max said, thinking too much about it, but it had Rachel thinking. She was still holding on to Max's hand, having not let go the whole walk to Chloe's house. I'm usually the one dragging someone around, so this feels weird for me, Rachel thought. They knocked on the door and the shouting died down. Chloe, go answer the door. Fine step. Hey ss, I'll get it since you're so lazy. Chloe angrily opened. Who is it? She stops in her tracks. Hi Chloe, I got Rachel and I want you to come to Seattle with us. Chloe just looked at their hands holding. Oh, I see. So why would you need me? Max looked where Chloe was staring. Chloe, it's not like that, Max said frantically, letting go of Rachel's hand. Everyone just stood there in awkward silence. So I'm just going to ask your mom since that's simpler. As Max was about to step inside past Chloe, their home phone started ringing and somehow Max felt her stomach drop. Chloe's mom was closer to the phone and went to answer. Oh, what a surprise, Max. It's good to see you. Let me just get this call really quick so we can talk. She answered the phone with a smile on her face from hearing the voice. Wow, Vanessa, is that you? What a surprise. She was cut off as Vanessa rushed to speak. Slow down, Vanessa, I can't understand what you're saying. Now say it slow. Joyce looked over to Max. Yes, she's here. I see. I will keep an eye on her. She put down the phone and slowly walked over to Max. So when were you going to mention that you ran away from home, Max? Max slowly started walking back. There's no problem, I just wanted to come see Chloe but my parents were taking too long, but I'm heading back home right now. She looked over to Rachel with a slight beg and she immediately got the memo. Yes, Mrs. Price, Max was just visiting and I'm going to visit her too right now. She wanted Chloe to come but she was saying no. Joyce looked back at Chloe. Is this true? She just looked away. Yes, it is, Mom. Rachel winked back at Max, who thanked her with a smile, mouthing thank you. Before any more could be said, Joyce spoke up. Okay Chloe, you go with her to Seattle, maybe she can help you find something to do there. Chloe started protesting, but Mom, no buts, young lady, go get your bags now and you two stay right here. Max had other plans in mind. Actually, Joyce, could I come in? You know, for old time's sake, to look around. Joyce hesitated, thinking there's an ulterior motive, but ultimately gave in. Fine, come inside. As they got in, Max pointed Rachel to go sit on the couch and distract Joyce as she went towards a side room. Some of the old pictures are still kept in there, right? She asked, already knowing the answer. Yes. Why? She just walked towards the room, just going to take a look then and maybe take some mementos. As she slipped into the room, she made a beeline for her actual target, David's gun display. She already had the code from Chloe and quickly put it in with the lock popping open instantly. Now how do I get one of these to Seattle, just in case? She quickly looked online on her phone. So I can't send a small one. Okay, got it. I'll try to get a smaller one in Seattle, but meanwhile, Max grabbed a long rifle but now needed a way to send it to her house. Then she remembered, Joyce, do you mind if I send some stuff home because it really brings back memories? Joyce replied, a bit anxious. Yes, you can take some things, just not a lot, Max. Hearing someone come down the stairs, she knew time was running low. So she stuffed it in a box, rummaging through some more boxes to find stuff her and Chloe used to play with as kids in order to cover it up. After filling the box, Max thought in her head out loud, I don't know if you're listening, but can you find a way to get this gun to my house? Thank you. Not knowing if the woman was there this time, she brought the box out already wrapped and sealed, running into Chloe, who had been talking to her mom, which seemed more like whispers. Mind if I join in? She playfully asked as Joyce immediately stopped talking and Chloe had a different look on her, but she quickly hid it with a smile. So what are we waiting for? Let's head to Seattle. But Max knew what she had to do. I packed this, Joyce, already fixed it up so you don't have to do anything. Could you mail it to me? She nodded yes. With that done, the three headed off to the bus stop and were soon on their way. After a quick flight, they had landed in Seattle and greeted outside by Max's waiting parents. She couldn't tell if they were furious, happy, or worried sick. I told you I wanted to see Chloe, Max said, trying to play it off. But someone else was strolling close behind her. Oh, and this is Rachel. You didn't want to go to Arcadia, so I brought Arcadia here. Her parents wanted to say something but looked at each other deciding to keep quiet. Let's go home and welcome Chloe. Rachel. They arrived at Max's house. A small place. Looks like both of you didn't bring much. Max, you better share your clothes. She just smiled back, more than happy, as her parents left to go get some more stuff for this unplanned sleepover while the three were left home alone. Max led them to her room. It was fine for the three of them, although some would be sleeping on the floor. The atmosphere in the room was even more awkward. Guys, it's getting late. Why don't you wait up here? I got some things to do. Max left, heading to her kitchen. She got to the counter and took out the cards that belonged to her parents, setting them down. I'm surprised they didn't cancel them. Guess they didn't want me stranded who knows where. She took a few drinks and walked up towards her room, then started hearing muffled talking. Rachel, what are you doing with Max? Are you the reason she came to Arcadia Bay? Rachel replied, sounding annoyed. What's it to you? In case you don't remember, you bailed on me. Chloe got louder. Bailed? I was with you till you suddenly thought I would hold you back in Arcadia. So what is Max your new ticket now? Because she got you farther than I did. After this, it was just silence, and Max knew maybe she should step in, even though those words did burrow deep in her heart. Hey guys, I got drinks, she said, entering the room. Rachel got up, drinking straight from the huge bottle. I needed that. It bothered Max that no thinking about it. Did she ever see the real Rachel Amber, or was it all an act? They had all eaten on their way back, so their appetites were lacking as they went to bed, but not to sleep, just unnerving silence. Later on, Max's dad brought in some blankets, but most likely to check they were still there. Max, can you hear me? A voice spoke in her head. Yes, I can. A giggle came from the voice. You've done well so far getting her away from there, but I fear threat still looms. Her sleeping form tensed up. What do you mean? She asked, puzzled. Jefferson is going to be here soon. She froze. What do you mean? She said, with the unsettling news getting to her. You missed it earlier when you bumped into him at the airport. He was carrying a brochure showing that some of his displays will be up here. The date is the one thing I didn't get a clear look at. She woke, panting heavily, looking around her room frantically to check that Rachel was still there, and she was. On the floor, Rachel was sleeping with Chloe next to her, with a distance between them. Good. She's still here. She opened her phone. Oh my God, it's midnight, but I need to check when Jefferson Displays will be here. She looked it up, but there was no clear date, just the season current unknown. Damn him and his surprise appearances. Back in Arcadia, Nathan was furious. The plan he had thought out to get Rachel Amber has been completely ruined. Damn it, what the fuck happened to that chick? He had already started looking around at all the places she would normally be, but with each location came no answer. The theater kids hadn't seen her, neither had the Vortex Club and the skater group, so he went to one of the people she hung out with the most. A few minutes later, he was knocking on the doors of an RV. Frank, come on out, I need to ask you something. After hearing a lot of groans and stumbling, the door burst open. Who the fuck is it? I'm a little busy here. Then he looked down to Nathan. Oh. If it isn't one of my best customers, how can I help you today? He was thinking of a way to phrase his words so that they didn't come off suspicious. I was just looking for Rachel. No one has seen her at school today, so I thought she might be here. Frank shook his head. Haven't seen or heard from her in a while, but remember, she is friends with that Price chick, so check there. Thanks, will be sure to. And can you give me some of this? Frank looked through the list. This is some of that heavy stuff. You ordered some of this a few days ago. You still need more? Nathan just met him with a sly smile. Yay, seems like more people will be coming to the party. Frank didn't even want to bother knowing more. Here it is, and remember, don't overdo it, otherwise you might go night-night for real. Alright. Nathan just chucked the money at Frank. Always a pleasure doing business with you, but Frank slammed the door. Yay, now let me go back to sleep. Nathan went over to Chloe's house and was greeted by her mother. Oh, Nathan Prescott, odd seeing you. How can I help you? He put on his fake and innocent smile so easily. I was just looking for Rachel and Chloe. There was a school event and they didn't show up. Joyce thought for a second. Chloe has been out of Blackwell for a while now. He backtracked. Oh, sorry, I forget sometimes because of how often I see her on campus and at other stuff. Joyce just sighed. That is true. I wish that child would do something with her life. But she went to see an old friend in Seattle? I really don't know for how long though. Should I tell her you were looking for her? Nathan was furious and barely keeping his composure but managed to strain out a few more words. No need, I will wait till they get back. I wouldn't want to bother them on their trip. And as he turned to leave he stopped. What's the name of her friend again? I never said, but it's Max. Max Caulfield. He put together one last smile and walked off furiously. I never knew Chloe knew someone like that. Such an odd child, Joyce said, confused. It was Friday morning in Seattle and nothing was putting Max more on edge than this day. Okay, so it's Friday. Just have to make it through today and we are golden. Or into the unknown. Chloe was still sleeping but Rachel was on her phone already browsing attractions in Seattle. This is my first time out of that boring town. Time to have some fun. Max hadn't been able to sleep, keeping her eye on the two. We can do that tomorrow, Rachel, just not today. Then she stopped looking through her phone. What do you mean? I mean, we left Arcadia already, so it should be fine for us to have some fun, right? Today is the most crucial day. You have to stick to me like glue and we're staying in this house. Rachel just scoffed. I didn't trade one cage for another. That's not the reason I followed you. At that moment Max snapped. The pressure of carrying a whole town's and her friends' lives in her hands got to her. That's because today is the day you were murdered. Chloe had been fake sleeping, listened to the whole conversation but still kept at it, wanting to know more about what's going on. Max, what do you mean? What do you mean I murdered today? But she was still angry. You heard your mother, didn't you? There are people like us all over the world, but there's always a price to pay for using our abilities. It was all connecting together for Rachel. Did you ever wonder why your mom did those drugs? Or why she isolated herself from you? Rachel was already tearing up. Don't talk about that, you know nothing about her. But Max just let out an exhausted laugh with tears coming down her eyes. I know more than you do, and regardless of all that I came to save you. I have seen countless people die over and over again, even myself. At that moment Chloe sprang up, simply asking Max, what's your price? Time.